Good afternoon. Today I'm bringing some information to you all on a very hot topic right now, which is the Mediterranean diet. It's been around for centuries, but recently is getting a lot of press as being the quote unquote healthiest option. My name is Kara, and I am a dietitian and diabetes educator. Um, and I'm so excited to talk with you about this diet because there's implications for heart health and diabetes. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. So first of all, the big question is, what is this diet and why? So as I said, it's been around for a really long time, but the interest really took off in the 1960s. And what happened was studies started showing that people from countries of that Mediterranean region had fewer deaths from heart disease. The diet is, like I said, associated with reduced risk factors for both heart disease, weight loss, and it is supposed to improve sleep. Also, there's been some recent research showing that it can improve issues with insulin resistance. It is recognized by the World Health Organization as a healthy and sustainable dietary pattern. So it's not overly restrictive, it's not a fad. So what exactly is it? Well, basically there's no single definition. So the major components are usually this: daily consumption of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats, a moderate intake of fish, poultry, beans, and eggs, a low to moderate portion amount of dairy products, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, and very limited intake of red meat. And red meat does include all beef, all pork, and lamb. Other important elements are actually not food, but environmental. So sharing meals with family and friends is a big part of the Mediterranean diet. Also, to the happiness of many of my clients, 1 glass of red wine per day. And then being physically active is also a big component of this diet/lifestyle. This is a pyramid of what, remember we used to have the old food pyramid. This is kind of how it would look if we did it in the Mediterranean diet. So you can see that the base of this diet is being physically active and enjoying meals with others. And then you move to the biggest chunk of the pyramid, and again, that's fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, legumes, seeds, herbs, and spices. And then you move up to fish and seafood, and then the poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. And then at minimum, it's the meats and sweets. And you'll see water is the beverage of choice, and a glass of wine a day, red wine specifically. What are the foods that are to be avoided in a Mediterranean diet? Well, you can see the picture kind of gave that away. Added sugars, so sodas, candies, ice cream, cakes, etc. Refined grains, so grains that have been processed so that the fiber has been basically removed. So white bread, white pasta, white rice. Instant is another big code for refined. So instant rice or instant oatmeal. Anything with the word instant has been highly refined so that it cooks very fast. Trans fats, so shortening and margarine are the big guns there. And fortunately, in the last several years in our country, we have recognized that trans fats are not a good option for the human body. And they have been removed from most all products. As of this year, really, there should be almost none in our food system. Refined oils, so soybean, canola, and cottonseed. So this is where patients come to me and they go, wait a minute, I thought canola oil was healthy. Well, but it is a refined oil, so it is not a part of a Mediterranean meal plan. Processed meats. So sausages, hot dogs, bologna, salami, all these highly processed foods. And then anything, like I said, that is highly processed. So if it's labeled low fat or diet, or it looks like it was made in a factory. One of my favorite nutrition classes I took in college, the professor stood up there and she said, if it comes from a crinkly bag, avoid it. And I kind of went, crinkly bag? And then I thought about it. She meant like chips, or if you open a box of crackers, it's a crinkly bag inside. So if you open a box of cereal, there's a crinkly bag inside. So she was saying, avoid the crinkly bags. And I thought that was kind of a neat way to think about it. The diet is more plant-based, but it is not completely vegetarian. So it's kind of a shift in the way we think about meat. In our country, it tends to be the star of the meal, but in the Mediterranean diet, it is not the star, it is more the co-star, the side to make, it's not the leading role of the movie. So the meals are built around the plant-based foods. Again, the vegetables, the fruits, the herbs, the nuts, the beans, whole grains. And then, this is also where we as a country tend to be rather limited. If you look at this list here, beans, we've got kidney, pinto, black, white, there's chickpeas in the picture. Whole grains, it's not just flour. We've got barley, quinoa, bulgur, farro, brown rice, black rice, red rice, all these other grain options. And they're whole, meaning they have a lot more fiber than the processed counterparts. Whoops, sorry about that. I got a little carried away with my... Okay. My mouse has one of those roller pads on it and I hit it. Now, plant-based versus meat-based. Again, dairy and eggs are included, but in small amounts. So we're talking about mostly like a Greek or a plain yogurt, not sweetened. Small amounts of cheeses like feta, Parmigiano Reggiano, ricotta, and brie. What we're not talking about, again, would be like a sweetened ice cream, lots of dairy milk, not included. And red meat is only on occasion and in its very small portions. So, for example, if you were going to do red meat, you might do small strips of sirloin in a vegetable saute, or you might dice a little bit of a process. And even though prosciutto is a little more processed than I would like, it does add a lot of flavor. So maybe you use it as a garnish or a way to add flavor to an overall recipe. More on the plant-based side, the preferred lean proteins. So when you do choose a meal that does not, that's not all plant-based, the preference is for seafood at least twice a week and poultry. So on the seafood side, anything goes. So it's not, oh, shellfish is bad or any of these old misnomers. So crabs, clams, tuna, salmon, sardines, mussels, eel, flounder, sea bass. So all sorts of different seafood options there. And then common poultry options: chicken, duck, quail. Not as much turkey, but in the US version of this diet, you will see more turkey. I will say that. But in those countries, they don't have the access. And then healthy fats. So by definition, olive oil is going to be the primary fat in this diet, and it's because it is high in what is called monounsaturated fat. That is found to lower total and bad cholesterol levels. And the way I remember that, LDL is the bad, so L is lousy. Nuts and seeds and avocado are also excellent sources of monounsaturated fats. So again, these would play a starring role as the fat sources. Unlike in the common diet in our country where butter might play a bigger role, it is not a big player in this diet. And then, of course, we mentioned this earlier, we mentioned seafood. And the reason, again, for the seafood is, again, it's high in healthy fats. specifically this list here. So mackerel, herring, sardines, albacore tuna, lake trout, salmon. These are your oilier, fattier fishes. And what we know with the omega-3s that are in these is they reduce inflammation in the body. And a lot of people say to me, well, why does that matter? Well, a lot of the diseases that we in this country deal with are inflammatory. If you think about arthritis, heart disease, lung disease, blood pressure, these are all inflammatory processes. The other thing the omega-3s can do is help decrease triglyceride levels, which helps improve, the health of our livers and reduce blood clotting and reduce the risk of stroke and heart failure. So when we talk about nuts, again, in our country, we tend to kind of limit our options. We're big on right now, our peanuts and our almonds. I see those a lot. But there's so many other things out there. There's hazelnuts, there's pine nuts, there's pistachios. And I'm seeing more of those, which is exciting. Sesame seeds, which are used to make a paste called tahini, which is a very common ingredient used in Mediterranean foods. It can be a dressing, it can be the base to hummus. Walnuts are also a really great nut that I think often gets forgotten because they're super high in omega fats. Sunflower seeds, again, another seed option. I'm a big fan of pumpkin seeds, although they're not quite as high in the oils, but all of these add some fiber and good oils to the diet. And then, like I said, with your beans, sometimes we need to get out of our kidney bean rut, I call it. So you've got cannellini beans, which are white. You've got fava beans. You've got kidney beans, green beans, lentils, chickpeas, which are the base to many hummus dips, split peas. So a lot of things, again, outside of the typical American cuisine. And then, of course, like we said, water or sparkling water should be the go-to beverages. And then a glass of red wine per day. So I put a little picture here of sparkling water with a little lime slice in it. I'd love sparkling water with just a little splash of juice. It can be very refreshing. Coffee and tea are acceptable. The problem is we like to decorate our coffee and tea quite a bit. Cream is fine, but where we get into trouble or where we diverge from this diet, so to speak, is when we start adding tons of different sugar, sweetened creams, whipped creams, etc. Juices and other sugary drinks, for the most part, should be avoided. Now, I say that, and some patients jump up and say, but what about fruit juices? Well, unfortunately, fruit juices are a concentrated sweet, and therefore, we do recommend that they be used very sparingly. So they can be used in like a recipe or just to add a splash to your water to give it a little flavor. But in and of itself, the juice lacks any of the fiber benefit of the fruit. So if I'm thinking about this Mediterranean lifestyle, what are some things I can start doing? The first one is take a hard look at your salad dressing. Oil and vinegar are your best bets. So I've included a little basic vinaigrette recipe here. Not hard at all. It's a cup of vinegar. And you can choose balsamic, you can choose cider, you can choose wine, whatever flavors you're going for. And then a half cup of extra virgin olive oil, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Simply combine all the ingredients in a jar with a tight-fitting lid and shake. Now, before you use this, you're going to have to shake it every time, so it'll redisperse the ingredients. And this is just a small amount. This will last you a few servings. You don't want to make an excess because these are not preservative-laden dressings. These are fresh, so we don't want to make too much. So some variations, like I said, balsamic vinegar, an herb vinaigrette. So follow the same basic recipe, but then add a tablespoon of chopped herbs like thyme, tarragon, or rosemary. Or some fresh lemon juice, and that makes a really refreshing flavor. So if you're wanting your salad to be kind of summery, that's an awesome way to do it. And then this is one of my sneaky little favorites. So it's honey mustard vinaigrette. So you add some garlic cloves that you've minced, some Dijon mustard, and a little bit of honey. It tastes so much better than the bottled packaged honey mustards that are on the shelf. So, you know, these are, like I said, great ways to start. So you're increasing your intake of healthy fats just by making a change to your dressing options when you do choose a salad. What are some other ways that I can begin to make some changes? Upgrade the snack game. So number one, change your dips. Try hummus, guacamole, any kind of bean-based dip, an artichoke-based dip, and then dip with vegetables like asparagus, peppers, carrots, instead of chips and things like that. And then for sweets, you know, this is where your fruits play a really great role. A whole fruit, a fruit salad. This is a way to bring some natural sugar and fiber to the plate. And then nuts. Again, we talked about peanuts are not the only nut. There's walnuts, there's almonds, there's, you know, we want these varieties because we want those omegas. And they're not as plentiful in peanuts as they are in these other varieties. This is the one where I tell people this is where you start dipping your toes into these plant-based meals. So many of you have probably heard one of the pushes out there is called Meatless Monday. So I tell people maybe that's the way we start dipping our toe into some vegetarian meals. So at least 1 or 2 nights a week, consider a vegetarian meal. So here are some examples. So a whole grain, either wheat or bean-based pasta, add some spicy chickpeas, a little rosemary, and some fresh vegetables like cherry tomatoes. Farro is a whole grain, and serve that with mushrooms and peas. So you're getting protein still from the peas and the farro. Bean soups, very filling. Black bean soup. I love an Italian white bean soup. So there's all sorts of options there. Stuffed peppers. So instead of stuffing with meat, use eggs. And some quinoa would be the grain they use there, but certainly you could go with a brown rice or a different option. Again, not becoming a total vegetarian, but dipping your toe into some vegetable-based meals or plant-based meals. Vegetable frittata. So this is basically a crustless quiche, is how I like to describe a frittata. And so it's eggs, roasted asparagus, and tomatoes. And that's actually what's the picture on the slide, is a vegetable frittata. I actually did this the other night with my husband and 15-year-old teen son, and they both really liked it. So I thought I would give you some basic sample Mediterranean menus to follow and just let you kind of play. So this day one, it's Greek yogurt with fruits and chopped nuts. So why this combination? Okay, so the Greek yogurt invites some good protein, potassium, and phosphorus. And then the sliced fruits, obviously we're bringing in some fiber. We're bringing in a variety of other vitamins and minerals, you know, vitamin C. And then the nuts invite in some of that good fat and a little bit of protein and fiber. So beautiful variety with that breakfast. And that's filling. So if I eat something like this, it's going to take my body a little bit longer to digest and process. But if I eat, let's say, a bowl of Rice Krispies with milk, I've just had a completely fiberless cereal and milk, which is a carbohydrate. So basically 2 carbohydrate servings. That isn't going to stick with me as long. Lunch, I have a vegetable sandwich on whole grain bread with cheese. So an example here would be something like you could do tomatoes and lettuce and onion and peppers. And I like to put hummus on a veggie sandwich, or with cheese, feta adds a lot of flavor. Um, and then when you choose a whole grain bread, try to look for something that has a minimum of 2 grams of fiber per slice. Grilled salmon salad. So here's your fish, and then your homemade vinaigrette dressing, and then have your fruit for your dessert. So that's one day. Here's a second day. So again, got an omelet with spinach, tomatoes, and onions for your main course for breakfast. So again, with the egg, we've invited the protein, and then with the vegetables, we've invited the fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And then we've got the side of fruit, which again adds a little sweet, but also invites the fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And then we've got a Mediterranean pizza for lunch, which is essentially a whole wheat pita, topped with a variety of vegetables, cheese, and olives to give it the healthy oils. And then for dinner, we've got a tuna steak with brown rice and steamed veggies. Pretty basic, a lot of healthy ingredients there. You know, again, the healthy oils in the tuna, it's a protein as well. Brown rice is inviting some fiber. And then the veggies would just depend on which ones you choose. What do you see not represented on these 2 days? Sweets, sugars, red meats. So you can see the diet itself is what I call kind of a flex diet. So it's a little bit vegetarian and a little bit not, but it invites a lot of very healthy whole foods to the table. So what do I do if I go out to eat? Yeah, you definitely have to be a little bit more mindful of places to go if you are trying to truly follow this diet. So fast food is very difficult because just by the name fast food, that tells you it's processed. So anything processed, again, is going to be very high in sodium, often low in fiber, often low in vitamins and minerals. So if I'm eating out, that might be your great time to choose your fish or seafood. Since a lot of my patients and clients say, hey, I'm not comfortable cooking fish at home, this would be a great way, is get it when you go out. Always ask them to use extra virgin olive oil if it is an option. Choose vegetable sides. So, you know, if they've got broccoli or they've got asparagus or they've got a tossed salad, something to go on the side, instead of choosing, say, French fries, which again, highly processed, very little fiber, lots of sodium. Okay. Ask for oil and vinegar as your dressing. Many restaurants, even if they don't have a vinaigrette available, they at least have a container of olive oil and vinegar where you can kind of dress your salad yourself. If bread is offered on the table, try to stick to those that are whole grain only, which means in most places you'll probably choose to avoid the bread. A lot of places you go, you get a white Italian bread, for example, or you might get a bread stick, and 90% of those are going to be white versus a whole grain. So you can see by these pictures on the top, we've got a lovely salmon over brown rice and veggies. And then on the bottom, we have a white fish that is a balsamic dressing on top with the chopped tomatoes, and then a side of asparagus with a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. So you can see, again, you can see the flavors and the themes are still very of that Mediterranean ilk. And then again, like I said, it's more than just a diet. It is a lifestyle, and it is a long-term sustainable diet versus a trend or fad. So, you know, generally speaking, the World Health Organization and many other medical professionals will tell you this is more sustainable and doable for the long haul. So a person, should aim for a diet that is rich in natural whole foods, and that's what this is. A person should aim for at least 30 to 60 minutes of physical activity on most days. Well, right now I have a lot of clients, patients, etc. come to me and say, I can't exercise because it's too cold and it's COVID, so I can't go anywhere. Those are good points, but sometimes we have to think outside the box. So every one of us can go to an apartment or a house, or many of us, not everyone, I shouldn't make that assumption, and march in place or dance or walk around for 30 minutes. You know, you could turn on a show that you like, and that's your reward, is I get to watch this while I march or dance. So again, sometimes we have to get a little creative and think outside the box when it comes to exercise. And, you know, exercise can be other things. It can be cleaning the house. It can be working in a garden. It can be playing with kids or grandkids. So again, it's not just I go to a gym and I do this at the gym. We need to think differently because right now we're living very differently. A person should take time to enjoy meals with family and friends instead of eating on the run. One of the saddest things I see more and more when I get on the interstate is people eating in their car. And I think no wonder we are a society of digestive issues and trouble with our diets. A, it's very unsafe, but B, it's very unsettling for the body. So think about taking time to make meals more of a priority. So that's basically my short spiel on the Mediterranean lifestyle. If this is something that sounds interesting to you or you'd like more information, I can tell you that right now, again, this is very popular. It's kind of making a big comeback. So I was going to tell you, I get emails almost daily from different websites that have Mediterranean recipes and meal ideas. So I'm just going to name a couple of those for you. I get one called the Food Feed. I just joined their list. I get one called the Prep from Eating Well. And all of these in the past, literally 10 days, have sent me recipes, Mediterranean recipes and meal ideas. Allrecipes.com. They have a specific section called All Recipes Easy Healthy. And they just sent me top rated Mediterranean recipes. Even my diabetes sites, because a lot of new information is supporting this diet and reducing insulin resistance. So I'm on a site called Diabetes Self-Management, and they just sent out Mediterranean recipes. So I'm actually thinking about trying this Mediterranean chickpea chili. So right now, there is an absolute ton of information. Even checking out at the grocery store yesterday, at the end cap, at that cap at the end with the magazines, there was a brand new Better Homes and Gardens Mediterranean Diet Cookbook. So if you're thinking this is something you want to pursue, check out some of those sites, check out that cookbook I just told you about, or give us a call anytime at Outpatient Nutrition and Diabetes Education Program here at Augusta Health. Our phone number is 540-213-2537. Thanks.